What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Football Chatbox. My name is Ryan, and this is a Game Week 33 free hit draft. Now, what I've got on screen is probably what's going to be like a very template free hit draft that you would see, but we do have a few differentials as well that I'll talk about later. Ignore the bench because it's not really fully relevant on a free hit draft. You ideally just want to get 11 players out most of the times. But in goal, we've gone for Rhea, Guardiola in goal. Guardiola in defense with Munoz and Saliba. In midfield, got Eze, KDB, Rogers, Saka, and Salah. Now, Salah is the only one on here who has a single game week, but it's against Leicester, which is why we've added him in here. You can obviously replace it with a double game week player if you wanted to. Saka, I think, is going to be very popular in terms of captaincy and Arsenal choices. Morgan Rogers, because man is a minutes monster and will most likely feature. I won't even be surprised if he plays 180 minutes across the two games. KDB is the differential that a free hit manager can go for, but a lot of non-free hit managers might not find it easy to go there and get him. So he's the X factor in one of these free hits. Eze obviously has been the better player between Eze versus Sah debate in the last couple of weeks. So we've got Eze in there, and we've got Marmoush and Watkins. Now, obviously, as you can see, Mateta is on that bench there. I've benched Mateta because of his inconsistency in terms of minutes. And I just much rather prefer the extra point that midfielders get in terms of goals and clean sheet potentials. Obviously, Crystal Palace are not going to keep any, but at this point, I'd rather have Eze starting over Mateta in terms of a free hit draft. Now, this is obviously what I said, like I said before, a potential template free hit draft. You could probably play it like this, but on a free hit, I don't mind encouraging a few X factor players, which is why obviously I've added KDB as well. I don't know if everyone will go there, but KDB is there. There are a few others that I went and looked at on a free hit, and these are the players that I've shortlisted. Now, out of these players, let's start with the players who have double game weeks. Let's start first of all with Marcus Rashford. Now, he will play number 9, basically out of position. Although I do believe Watkins will potentially start still. Rashford could potentially get one start as well, and a sub appearance of the other one. So out of position playing, not a bad player to have as a differential if you wanted to go and get there in terms of a free hit. The other player is Marco Asensio. Now, obviously, he had 2 penalties. Emery came out and said he's second in line for penalty taker, which I should say Rashford is first in line for penalty taker for Aston Villa. So Emery said that Asensio was second in line. But there was a clip saying that Watkins wanted to take the second penalty, but that's completely up for debate. But Asensio is another differential player that who has a double game week that you could probably look at. Yes, the 2 penalties is a bit of a problem, but he still does have some decent data when he plays, so I don't mind him as well. The other players are Declan Rice from Arsenal. Let's say you didn't want to go Arsenal double defense and would rather have an Arsenal double attack even, potentially. Declan Rice on set pieces against Ipswich and Crystal Palace should get a decent number of minutes as well. In the 2 games, could be a decent option. He takes set pieces, free kicks, as you saw in the Champions League as well. And then Merino, obviously, Mikel Merino will play up front for Arsenal in the striker spot, so he could also be another nice differential. Obviously, in Gaming 30, got the 10 points against Fulham, 9 points before that against Chelsea. In the last 2 against Everton and Brentford, obviously Brentford he was rotated due to resting because of the Champions League. So he's also, you expect him to potentially feature in Ipswich and Crystal Palace as well decently. So he's also another nice differential. Those are the double game week players that I could look at and suggest. Now, there are some single game week players I've gone for as well. And the single game week players I've gone for were from Brentford, Liverpool, West Ham, and Forest. Now, let's start with Liverpool because they face Leicester. And like I mentioned, mentioned about Salah, Luis Diaz obviously has been on some pretty good form. 8-6, 9-6, 9. I mean, he's getting returns. He's got 5 returns in the last 5 games. So he's obviously a very nice differential who's on some form right now, playing against Leicester. We've seen players previously who played against Leicester done really well as well. Luis Diaz could also benefit from that very nice differential here. The other one single game I would like to touch on let's go to Jared Bowen, who obviously is playing Southampton. Now, between Bowen and Luis Diaz, I do prefer Luis Diaz just because Liverpool better team, more likely to get better returns. But Bowen, obviously, talisman for his team, playing against the Southampton team that are not that great, to be honest. So that's again, you want to target some of the relegation sides. West Ham are playing at home, if I'm not mistaken, as well. Yes, they're playing at home. Bowen could be a decent punt on a free hit draft. And then apart from that, let's talk about Brentford. Now, the reason I've added some Brentford players is because they are playing a Brighton team that has quite a few injuries. Now, obviously, Van Dijk should be back, I think, from suspension because he missed out on the last game. But Brighton obviously do still have a decent number of injuries, which I think Brentford could capitalize on with both Mbeumo and Johan Wissa as well. Both of them in there. They should potentially be able to get a couple goals against Brighton. But in terms of priority of rank in single game, because obviously I would have Luis Diaz and Bowen slightly higher over the Brentford duo, to be honest, just because Brighton still is a bit more of a tougher fixture, not the easiest to play against. But because of Brighton's injuries is why I've got some Brentford attacking assets here. And then the final team I've added in terms of a player is Anthony Elanga. Now, if I knew, because he's coming back from injury, if I'm not mistaken. Now, if he was going to get as close to like even 70 to 80 minutes, I don't mind it as a punt, purely because of the fact that he should be an counter attacking outlet against Spurs, and we've seen Spurs could just concede 4 against Wolves, obviously, in the last game. So they're coming back from Europa League. Who knows what the result will be? If it's in favor of Spurs, maybe you might see a bit more rotation to try and handle the fixture congestion. If they get knocked out of the Europa League, what state of mind will the players be in? That's another thing to kind of wonder. Obviously, Forest dropped points, lost against Everton, which means big problems in terms of Champions League spots. They would want to definitely win this game. Elanga obviously is part of like their counter attacking. If they want to try and get some sit back against Spurs and counter attack, there should be space. We've seen Spurs' defensive displays recently not being great. Elanga could potentially exploit it, which is why I've added him. I was deciding between him and either Gibbs White or even Callum Hudson-Odoi. I've gone for Elanga just because slightly better threat, I'd say, and slightly better finishing potential compared to Hudson-Odoi maybe. But I honestly, it's kind of a flip of a coin between the Forest lads. Chris Wood could be a decent punt, but I prefer midfielders because of the extra potential for points in terms of goals and whatnot. So that is my differentials that you can have a look at, and this is obviously the free hit draft. Let me know what draft you come up with. Is it very similar to this? Do you have a few differentials in? And are you captain in a differential? Because I've got Saka here. I think he's going to be one of the popular ones. But honestly, Marmoush and KDB, especially if you can get to KDB as well, very tempting in terms of a captaincy option this week. So let me know where you stand in terms of all of that. If you've reached up to this point, please make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button as well. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. We are actually now 22 away from hitting that mark. So if you could help us in terms of trying to get there, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you all for watching. Let me know in the comments, are you playing the free hit chip this week? And are you looking at any differentials? That's what I want to know. Thank you.